Welcome to This Explainer. Let's just jump right in. Today, we're diving straight into the literal science behind better sleep. We're going to explore the incredible insights from Lynn Peoples' book, The Inner Clock, to figure out exactly why we sleep, why we so often can't, and most importantly, how to actually fix it. You know the feeling, right? You're dragging all day at work or school, literally running on coffee just to keep your eyes open, but then nighttime rolls around, you hit the pillow, and you are wide awake staring at the ceiling. It's totally frustrating. We plan our entire lives around a mechanical clock on the wall, but our bodies, well, they simply refuse to cooperate. So, to solve this, we're going to cover 5 key areas today. 1. Your invisible internal clock. 2. Meet your master clock. 3. Modern threats to your sleep. 4. Resetting your sleep rhythm. And 5. Beyond just better sleep.
All right, let's kick things off with part 1, your invisible internal clock.
So, here's the thing. Your body's internal cycle isn't actually a perfect 24 hours. Because it usually runs just a little bit short or a little bit long, it constantly has to look for what scientists call Zeitgebers, which literally translates to time givers. It's looking for these cues in nature to calibrate itself, and the absolute biggest one is sunlight. By tracking the rise and fall of the sun, these recurring environmental signals make sure we feel alert during the day and drowsy at night.
Moving right along to part 2, meet your master clock.
Deep inside your brain, right above the optic nerves, in the hypothalamus, sits the suprachiasmatic nucleus. Let's just call it the SCN. It's tiny, basically 2 pinhead-sized clusters made of about 20,000 neurons. Now, to put that into perspective, your whole brain has around 100 billion neurons, so 20,000 is literally a drop in the bucket. Yet this incredibly small structure controls your entire daily rhythm. We're talking body temperature, digestion, metabolism, the whole shebang.
Think of your body like a massive, complex orchestra. The SCN is your master conductor. It's up there keeping the main beat. But every single intact tissue and organ has its own clock too. Your liver and your skeletal muscles, they're like the section leaders. They respond independently to things like food and exercise, but ultimately they have to follow the main tempo set by that conductor in your brain.
But wait, if this master clock is buried in the pitch-black center of your brain, how on earth does it know what time it is? Well, it relies on a recently discovered hidden pathway in your eyes made of cells called iPRGCs. Now, these cells don't help you see, actually scratch that, they don't form visual images. Instead, they act more like little light meters that are hypersensitive to blue light. This perfectly explains why even some totally blind people can still unconsciously respond to light and maintain a perfect circadian rhythm. It's wild.
Which brings us to part 3, modern threats to your sleep.
If our bodies are so perfectly engineered to follow the sun, why is our sleep such a mess today? Experts call it the lux shock. International guidelines recommend getting at least 250 lux of light during the day to properly stimulate your clock. But look at this difference. A sunny day outside blasts you with 100,000 lux. Meanwhile, sitting at your computer in a standard office, you're getting a measly 150 lux. It is simply not enough to tell your brain that it's daytime.
And since people in modern societies spend over 90% of their time indoors, our brains are basically starving for daytime signals. We get way too little bright blue light during the day, and then, to make matters worse, we bombard our eyes with artificial blue light from screens at night when it's supposed to be dark. We are literally giving our master clock the exact opposite signals of what it expects.
But it's not just about light. Let's talk about everybody's favorite crutch, caffeine. Did you know that on average, half of the caffeine from that coffee you drank is still in your system 5 hours later? By blocking adenosine receptors in your brain, it doesn't just falsely keep you alert, it drastically wrecks the deep quality of your sleep. So yeah, that late afternoon coffee is still wreaking havoc on your master clock when your head hits the pillow.
Food timing is a huge deal too. If you're a fan of the late-night snack, you are totally confusing your peripheral clocks. Digesting food actually warms your body up, and this is a huge problem because your core body temperature naturally needs to drop in order to initiate deep sleep, usually bottoming out between 2 and 5 a.m. By eating late, you're fighting that natural cooldown and basically forcing your body to work a night shift.
All right, let's get into solutions. Part 4, resetting your sleep rhythm.
How do we fix this biological disconnect? Here is your definitive 4-step protocol for better sleep. Step 1, the minute you make up, open those curtains and flood your eyes with morning sunlight. Step 2, after dusk, dim the lights in your house so your brain knows night has arrived. Step 3, keep your meals in a daytime window and completely stop eating at least 3 hours before bed. And Step 4, move your vigorous exercise to the morning to establish a really reliable time signal for your muscle clocks.
You can even hack your home environment. If you have adjustable LED bulbs, set them to a cooler, bluer light, around 3500 to 4000 Kelvin during the day to keep you alert. Then, radically drop that down to around 2200 or 2700 Kelvin in the evening. This creates this warm, fire-like glow that cuts out the blue light and lets your natural melatonin kick in.
Okay, now I have a totally counterintuitive trick for you. Taking a really hot bath right before bed. You'd think that would warm you up, right? But it actually draws all your blood to the surface of your skin. So the second you get out, that heat rapidly escapes, and it effectively lowers your core body temperature by 1.1 to 1.7 degrees Celsius. It literally fast-tracks your drowsiness because it perfectly matches your circadian need to cool down.
And what about that post-lunch slump? Feeling a dip in energy midday is completely natural. If you really need to nap, you absolutely can, but you have to keep it strictly between 10 and 20 minutes. Any longer, and you risk severe grogginess. Plus, you'll burn off all that biological sleep pressure you've been building up all day, leaving you wide awake and staring at the ceiling later that night.
Finally, let's wrap up with Part 5, Beyond Just Better Sleep.
Understanding circadian timing is an absolute game changer for medicine. Aligning treatments with our internal clocks makes them work significantly better. Take statins for high cholesterol, for example. They are drastically more effective when taken at night. Why? Because that is exactly when your liver's natural cholesterol production peaks, around 2 or 3 in the morning. Even asthma medications are timed around this, because attacks are way more likely in the early morning.
And it goes way beyond humans. In agriculture and bioengineering, scientists are tapping into the circadian rhythms of plants and bacteria. By knowing exactly when a bacterium is most vulnerable, we can radically reduce the need for antibiotics in livestock. Researchers are even manipulating the biological clocks of sunflowers and fungi to turn them into highly efficient living factories for generating bioplastics, cosmetics, and biofuels. It's just amazing.
As the source material so beautifully reminds us, modern society has given us countless clocks, but the oldest and most faithful one has always been quietly ticking inside us. Despite all our glowing screens, digital calendars, and smartwatches, the absolute most accurate timekeeper is the ancient, invisible one woven right into our very cells. So I leave you with this final thought for today's explainer. You're now armed with the science of your master clock. You know exactly how light, food, and timing control your energy. So in a world of endless artificial light and round-the-clock demands, what will you change about your routine tonight to reclaim the sleep and the health you absolutely deserve? Will you dim those lights? Will you step outside tomorrow morning? The choice is totally yours. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.